Caitlin?
Oh. I was waiting for the t-shirt.
I'm here.
One of these times we're gonna get it.
Don't count on it.
Not ever.
Oh, okay. Hello and welcome to Because I Fell Asleep in Class, the podcast where 4 family members, today 5, share facts that you may have learned had you not fallen asleep in class. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Casper.
And I'm Brandy.
And we have a special guest today. This is Billiam, our dad.
What's up?
Hi, Daddy.
Hello.
Who's your daddy?
My little.
Oh, he needs to show you guys his shirt now. It
Okay.
says, "Hey, Cup Muffin, why don't you climb in your douche canoe, cry me a river, and float the fuck away?"
Where did you get that?
A friend of mine gave it to me a long time ago.
Oh my god, I need to get my husband a shirt like that.
You have
He had a different one picked out, and he's like, "Should I wear this?" I was like, "I don't care what you wear." So then he comes out, or he took a shower, came from upstairs, and he was like, "What about this one?" And I read it, I was like, "Oh my god."
I don't think I've ever seen you wear that shirt before, Dad.
I've worn it one other time, but you know me, I don't like to cause controversy, so.
I do.
Yeah. Brandy, what are you eating?
Chicken and green beans.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
It's pretty much what I eat every day.
Yeah.
Caitlin's favorite.
They're fresh green beans,
gross.
not
From the
canned.
garden?
I didn't grow any this year, but I did get some, like, fresh from the garden from someone.
I'm glad you got something from somebody. What are you eating, Caitlin?
Not sure what that means.
I
Pizza.
get stuff.
What?
My husband gave me some last night, so it's okay.
Caitlin, what are you eating?
Pizza.
Oh, yum. What'd Casper have?
I didn't eat.
He doesn't
not?
eat anymore.
Well,
My
yeah, because
appetite's
he
weird.
read about all the books now and knows how processed our food is and how fake it is, so he doesn't want to eat it anymore.
You're eating
I wish
pizza
that was the
with a
reason.
fork?
Caitlin?
Caitlin?
What?
You're eating pizza with a fork?
Yes.
I do
Because I'm
too.
recording.
There's so
Because
many-
I'm recording.
Oh,
If I
No,
wasn't, I would eat it with my
do
hands.
too. Well, we had enchiladas.
Mom made enchiladas.
Yes, she did.
It's really nice that Mom can cook supper for you still.
I know. It's like I still live at home. It's great.
You work at home, you live at home.
Yep.
No, she works at Mom's house.
I'm sure Dad loves
That's
having
what
you
I'm
around.
saying.
Oh, yeah.
Dad loves having
having
you
the
around
grandkids
all
here.
the time.
And Zane has a bedroom there, so...
Well, it's Zane's house, so.
All right, Casper, we'll shut up. You can take it away.
All right. So this question is posed by Sydney. You say?
Yeah, one of my friends, Sydney.
She asked generally about the FDA, which is really like a million questions in one. So I'm going to do my best on this special episode to talk about the FDA. And the first thing we're going to talk about is
Oh,
I'm
Casper, we
trying
got a
to.
question.
Okay.
Dad's raising his hand. I don't know.
Well, he's probably going to say it, but what does the FDA stand for?
It's Food and Drug Administration.
Drugs.
Such a good one to bring him on.
All right. I'm going to kind of go by source on here. Yes, Snoopy. I love you.
He heard drugs and he showed up.
Well, that's why we call him Snoop Doggy Dog.
Okay, so the first one is going to be Drugs and the FDA, Safety, Efficacy, and the Public's Trust by Mikkael A. Skursker. Okay, however you want to say that.
No, I'm laughing at the
Sekeres.
public trust of a government entity.
Well, he gets into it a little bit. Uh, so the FDA is part of the federal or the executive branch. So the appointees are held by the president. You make this so easy.
That's what she said.
Easy or soft?
Good question.
It's a toss up.
It can be.
All right. So July 1st, 1902, the Biologic Control Act was passed due to tainted well, drugs, or basically to stop snake oil salesmen. Everyone knows what snake oil salesmen was from last time.
I forgot.
All right, so back in the
So
1800s,
simple.
all that
I
snake oil
wasn't born in
sales.
the 1800s, so.
I explained it last time, so you guys must have fell asleep again.
Yeah.
Didn't he say 1902 it was established?
Yes, the Biological Control Act.
So you missed it by a couple years, about the 1800s, but
Yeah,
whatever.
you know.
Well, I tried to explain snake oil salesman again.
But in the
Wait
last
a minute.
episode,
I think I kind of remember it.
Okay,
The people the merchants who sold the drugs, it was basically fake drugs to made people believe that they were selling them real drugs that would cure whatever, but it was actually fake, right?
Correct.
it was
Okay.
usually cure-all. They would cure
Yes.
everything.
Yeah.
But there'd be
Isn't that a
anything they
placebo?
no. Those cure-alls were like anything they could find. So they could contain rat poison, what became antifreeze, formaldehyde, whatever they could find.
Yes.
They'd
Okay.
put in there. So
Oh, yeah, I remember the antifreeze thing now. Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
I remember.
Fireball.
Fireball.
Antifreeze.
Fireball.
Oh. Oh, I just burped and that stunk.
all right. So that
Thanks
passed
for
to try to
sharing.
control drugs. And then in 1906, the book Upton Sinclair, The Jungle, uh, helped pass the Pure Food and Drug Act, 1906. If The Jungle is the book. He describes how it was in the meat packing factories back then. So a lot of times they'd just shovel food that was on the ground, meat that was on the ground, expired. They would just pack it and send it. Is no really sanitation processes at all.
Oh my god.
So
That makes me want to throw up.
Yum.
Didn't
So-
they used to do that on dirt floors too?
they did, and this all passed during Theodore Roosevelt's time as president. And he actually didn't trust Upton Sinclair because he's a socialist. So he actually had agents of his own go in the meat packing undercover, and they pretty much confirmed what Upton Sinclair saw.
Can't say I blame him for not trusting him, though. But if he's a socialist, but that's just that's a different category. Go on.
Yeah.
All right.
So that led to the Bureau of Chemistry that was originally part of the USDA. And then in 1912, they made an amendment to make labeling more clear and precise. What's that?
I said the middle child's not getting any of this.
She just ignored me.
Going way
No,
over her head.
I'm listening. I'm just being. I am nodding. Showing I'm paying attention.
She's just standing or sitting in the background.
Yeah, you're nodding like a sadistic clown.
She's nodding like she's looking at her husband, agreeing with him.
Whatever.
You're an idiot.
Well, she's a middle child. We're ignoring her anyways.
Yeah.
And then the Harrison Narcotics Act of 1914 was able to keep record recording for narcotics, mainly cocaine and opium. So they actually had to register the drugs so they can keep track of the dosage and who's getting it. So this
You mean
beforehand, doctors can prescribe anything
right?
and hand out doses and stuff like that, and it
So,
wasn't
so
tracked to where the drugs were going.
okay, they were keeping track of drugs that were being prescribed and stuff.
And then in 1930, the FDA is finally formed. So the Bureau of Chemistry, like I said earlier, as part of the USDA, it started off with just one person. So one person was in control of like all the drugs and stuff, and make sure all that, and then it eventually grew into an actual administration. Um, one person.
One person under the president, and that was it.
That was it.
Holy
Well,
Wow.
technically working in USDA.
Boy, I bet he made a lot of money. I'm the sole person that's going to approve this. You don't mind?
Probably not, because he probably didn't have a whole lot of authority to begin with.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like,
Well, probably.
no, I mean, how
But-
many people actually listen to him?
But he's a government official, so he was going to make money somewhere.
Yeah. So their first real big break actually being like taken seriously actually came in 1932. So in Europe, there is this drug, formaldehyde, that was a big craze that helped pregnant women get some sleep. Yeah. But it had some nasty side effects.
No shit.
But so Europe passed it, but the US did not yet until it got through the FDA. And the side effects is that it made babies born without fully deformed limbs.
I think there was an episode kind of like this on the midwives or whatever. Babies were being born without like limbs and stuff like that.
But they had limbs.
Like,
They just weren't like full
Midwives?
length.
yeah.
They're like
Oh.
little bitty
It's
Lame.
probably reality.
legs and arms and stuff like that.
No,
I
it's
have
like
a
an
big
actual.
head and little
It's not a
legs.
reality show, Tiff.
Oh. Is it their
And-
stories though? Like a documentary? Oh, no?
No, it's
Oh.
just like a show called The
Oh.
Midwives or something like that.
Kind of like Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
Wives?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but these pregnant moms that were given medicine while they were pregnant, and then their babies were born with deformities. And then they would kill the babies or whatever. Yeah,
Who would
because
kill
the
the
moms didn't want them.
Holy shit.
So the drug company is actually pushing to start it in the US, and they actually sent drugs to the US and start selling it, and the FDA would not let them do it until it's tested, and they just denied it once more studies were done in Europe and all the deformities. So there's probably a couple that got through here, but we didn't have as big an epidemic as they did in Europe with deformed children.
So Europe was our test tube, huh? Where's
Basically
our
on that one.
Test
So
them.
that's all right.
that's an example of the
As long as we're not going.
FDA. That's the example of the FDA actually doing their job and make sure everything's safe.
So that was the one time.
Well, no, because they were actually really good to start off with. It wasn't here until recently that they've gone downhill.
Recently, in like what, the last 50 years?
1990s.
Oh, okay.
I get to talk about everyone's favorite doctor at that time too.
1990s?
Yes.
Sure wasn't before that.
Well, 80s, 90s, sometimes in there.
I feel like America.
They were actually good until then.
Until that time.
Yeah. I was pretty skinny in the 80s.
That's the FDA's fault.
Yeah, there you go. It's always the government, man. It just goes back to the government sucks.
So here's another one for you I found. 1932, Gerard Domcake
Say that
created.
Come on,
What?
say that again. Say that again.
Gerard Dome Cake?
Dump cake?
That's what it sounds like. Dump
I'm
cake?
I'm hearing dumb cake.
I'm
Dumb?
hearing
I got.
dome cake.
I'm saying dome. DOMAYK.
Dome cake.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
All
no,
right.
it's don't make, right? There's no.
I don't know. How do you say
Spell
it?
it again. Spell it again.
Don't
DOMYAYK.
It's probably some European name.
A-Y.
Don't,
Yes.
It's
don't
like
make.
don't mock or don't make.
Don't. Don't yay?
But if you want to
Don't
go ahead
make.
with dumb, if you want to go ahead with dumb cake,
Ah,
that's
you
Does
fine.
that help you
make.
say it?
Dumb cake.
Go make you an offer you can't refuse.
So this was more or less the first drug that the FDA approved for strep, sulfonamide. At that time period, strep was the number 2 mortality in the U.S.
Wow.
Strep? I didn't even
Strep.
think it could get that bad.
And of course, the SE Massengill company tried to create a liquid form of that drug. It didn't taste very well. So they added spices and chemicals, which became, or one of those chemicals was diethyl glycol or antifreeze.
Yep.
So try to cure one thing and kill you with the other.
Yep.
That's science for you. Trust the science.
So the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act in 1938 created a new drug application that companies would have to put through for a drug to be approved.
Application as in like a form?
Yes, basically.
Gotcha.
More paperwork and all that.
Yeah.
The Dorham-Humphrey amendment to that regulated what is over-the-counter drugs, because you could get those by, you could say it's just over-the-counter, you wouldn't need a prescription and stuff like that. So now this is actually defining what can be over-the-counter.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to figure out why yours was that.
What's that?
Nothing. I'm
I-
listening to you. Go ahead.
I'm trying to read my notes, and you know how my handwriting is.
On the bottom
what
of
I-
the screen, it says because I fell asleep on TIFFs. And then
Yeah.
yours
Oh,
says
yeah.
your name, mine says mine, and Caitlin says
Yeah.
hers. So Dad was trying to figure out why Tiff says because I fell asleep in
Oh.
class. It was
'Cause
just
she
funny
has
because he
to
put
be
his
in charge.
glasses on, got really close, and then backed up. So
Where was I at here?
Just screw this. I'm done.
Caitlin, you going
So-
to bed?
No, I have Snoopy with me.
Oh.
He likes to sleep under the blanket.
So the Right to Try Act in 2018 allowed access to experimental drugs. So this is like
Okay. Yep. I know what that is.
everything else is, you tried everything else, nothing works, there's new drugs. Your last resort is you have access to them.
But that's only for people who are dying, right?
They're supposed to be, yes. It changes there.
That was in 2018, huh?
Yes. Oh, what do I want to say?
You really skipped ahead.
What's that? Yeah, we did. We did jump way ahead, didn't we?
Like 100 years right there.
Well,
All right. So I'm going to
yeah.
talk more about this book exactly. I got those stats from this book. But this book he doesn't actually work for the FDA. He's an oncologist that does studies. But here recently they had so part of the experimental drugs, they have to go through the trials and stuff like that. They let people do the third trial, the experiment on there, at kind of temporary FDA approval. And then after the third study, if it works, it can be passed through the FDA. If it doesn't, the FDA can take it off. Or they can ask for more studies just to confirm. Maybe there's some stuff there's missing, data that's missing in the original studies and all that. And then they have a hearing with a bunch of experts, and they'll give recommendations whether the FDA can approve this or they can deny it. And the FDA doesn't have to listen to them, but most of the times they do. This one is actually talking about the breast cancer drug Avastin. And this drug in 2011 was when this hearing was probably the most controversial drug they ever heard on. They actually told these experts to block their numbers or hide their numbers so people can't call them, because there's a lot of protesters when they even showed up to it. And he says even today his office will still get phone calls about people cursing him out about what they decided. I'll tell you all about it and all that, but so the company that made it, and I actually didn't really write it down. They originally got the approval for the fast trial approval, so it went through the first study group, which the first study group is really small. It's about 3 to 5 people, and they're just trying to decide the doses that won't be lethal or very harmful. And then after they figure that out, then it goes to the second study, which is a little bit larger. You're trying to decide what combination of drugs, what they're on. The placebo that they talked about, Brandy, is the drug that is on the market now. Is it more safe and efficient now than the drug that's on the market now? So that when you hear about a study's placebo, it's a drug that's on the market now.
So it's actually a drug
Yes,
that's supposed to do something. It's not just like a sugar pill or something like that. Then.
right.
Okay.
So, and then since they got the fast, they started treating people with this drug. And then they're in the third study, and it helped some people, and it also killed those people, or the quality of life went down. So the FDA, when they decide whether a drug can be used, they got to prove that it's safe and actually more effective than what it's on the market now, and improves the quality of life. If it doesn't do those things, then they can deny the drug. And hi, Mom. Hi, Zane. So on the third study, the original time, there was some data that looked like it was missing. So the FDA ordered them to do it again. And it actually showed the results were about the same or worse than the first study. So the FDA actually let them do it again. And it got the same results as the second study. So they had a hearing about this drug, whether they should pull it or not. Now, since it's a breast cancer drug, they actually didn't have any breast cancer specialists on there. It had a bunch of oncologists of other cancer drugs, because they didn't want that to influence their decision, because breast cancer person is more likely to approve it than just be more neutral. That makes any sense? So there's a 2-day hearing. The first half day, they just heard from patients that taken the drug, and most of them, it worked for them. What's going on?
I think there's furniture moving upstairs at your parents' house, and it's coming through the audio.
I heard some.
Well,
No,
those
it's
two,
an earthquake. Honest.
yeah, I have the power. I can control the weather, and I'm making you have an earthquake right now.
Well, you are the government. They said they could control it now.
Yep. Sorry. Go ahead, baby.
So the first half of this hearing, it was just patients, and actually most of them saying that it did work for them. It's not a drug you take once. It's a drug you have to take a lot of times, just like a regular drug and stuff like that. They did have some of people that weren't there because the drug killed them. And then the second part of the day is the FDA laying out their case of why the drug should be pulled. They were able to interview the drug company and stuff like that, question them. And most of it is like, well, the study, about the studies and stuff like that, and what they found. And then the second day was the opposite. The drug companies got to ask the questions to the FDA and why the FDA thinks this is all that. And then the final decision. They actually recommend pulling the drug for breast cancer. Now, it was good. What's that?
The FDA did?
The experts on the panel.
Okay.
And the FDA actually did listen to them, so they did pull it for breast cancer. Now, this drug was. Oh, go ahead.
So this hearing that they had, there was just FDA was the ones in control, or they were having the hearing? The FDA was? Who was actually, what I'm trying to get at, was senators there? Were Congress there? I mean, who was?
No. It was.
FDA?
So there's a person that's in charge of the hearing as part of the FDA.
Okay.
But they're just pretty much there like a judge, basically. Let everything play out and all that. Let everyone have their say. But like I said, they didn't have to go with the experts say. The FDA can say, no, we're going to keep it on the market, or no, we're going to pull it, no matter what the experts say. This is just kind of like letting the public and the company get a say in it, or a word in it. Can I go pee? Why, this next part is the one I think he really wants to hear.
Well, did you hear me earlier? He had 3 beers. Okay, here they all are. And 3 different koozies. So he's like, I wanted to be prepared. He's already finished one. He's about halfway done with this one. He's gonna run out before.
Hey, and I am paying attention. I have to help somebody do homework too.
I know, I was just joking. But Dad keeps laughing because Moxie's doing stuff to you in the background.
I'm learning about
Come here, you want to say hi?
Mesoamerica and the Mayan and Aztecs.
Hi.
Oh, how do you say it?
Hi.
As the text. Saying.
Hi. Hi, Moxie.
He said hi.
Hey, what about the rest of us? You can tell us hi?
Yeah, you can tell Uncle Casper how.
Hi.
Okay.
Uncle Caitlin. All right.
Do we all have to sit here and do this now?
Yeah.
No. Stop. I'm gonna put a big old knot in my hair.
did.
All right, so this is the part I think Dad really wants to hear.
Baddies.
Hi, Moxie.
Bye, baddies.
Baddies.
Baddies?
Baddies.
Baddies?
No, baddies.
It's like baddies used to. No, it's BAT, like baddies. Like, I'm like, you're crazy.
No.
Or is it BAD?
What is it?
BADDIE.
Baddies.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought she says baddie, so I was like, no, that means you're crazy. I'm not crazy.
I'm just old. I don't get it, so.
Baddie is like a badass. You baddie.
Okay, go ahead,
All right.
son. Sorry.
So, does everyone know what big disease happened in the 80s?
AIDS.
Correct. And
Like
they didn't
an
really have.
STD.
That's what AIDS is, isn't
No.
it?
They didn't really have.
Sorry.
They didn't really have any good drugs for AIDS. I mean, they were working on them, but obviously, new disease
Depends on
don't
what
have
you
very
mean
much.
Depends on what you mean by good drugs.
Something to cure it.
Yes.
Not make you forget about it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure they took good ones to forget that they had it.
So, these studies, you got to remember, they're going to take years. I mean, we're talking 10, 15 years to get through all 3 studies because you want to make sure long-term effects and all that. Well, a lot of people with AIDS or even cancer don't have 10, 15 years for drugs to be approved. So the group ACT UP, which is AIDS Coalition to something powers. I can't remember. I can't read my handwriting. There we go. In 1987, started to protest the FDA.
Usurp.
Used to
Never heard of them.
try to protest the FDA to loosen their reins or approve drugs quicker. And everyone's favorite doctor in 1992 introduced the parallel trials.
Yeah, yeah. I know who you're talking about, and he's a quack.
Dr. Fauci, he was working with the FDA at this time.
He failed him on
Introduced
that.
me.
He failed him on the newest one, Corona. He's a failure. Sorry. He's just a failure.
Which allowed in 1992 Congress to pass the Prescription Drug User Free Act, which this is where everything started backfiring. It allowed pharma companies to pay the FDA to help push through their drugs quicker.
There you
And
go.
if you remember last time, I said I saw anywhere between 48, was it 75, 85% of the FDA's budget is paid for by big pharma. I believe it's closer to 60%.
60?
The FDA's 60% is in my belief because the FDA's website says 48%, but it is 48% too much.
Yeah.
If it's true. Yeah.
But if they're admitting to 48, then it's probably closer to 80 because the government always lies.
I know. So this allowed them to run their regular trials, third trial, but also then gave drugs to people who were just supposed to be no other options available could also take the drug. So it's kind of like your 2 trials going on at once, basically. But then in 21st Century CARES Act that was passed during the Trump administration, by his FDA leader at that time, wanting to push this through.
Push what through? The CARES Act?
Yes. 21st Century CARES Act.
Okay.
It removed barriers to approval, made drugs more available. Basically, it lowered the standard of what drugs could be approved. So, like I said, the FDA was supposed to make sure the drugs were safe and efficacy is what the word that's used, but pretty much efficient. And that just lowered the bar. So even if the drug's not safer or more efficient, it can still be approved.
Right.
Wasn't it technically designed to try to cut through the red tape, but it
Yes.
backfired on that?
Yes.
I mean, that was what it was originally for, but what it ended up doing is just making it easier to approve stuff that shouldn't be approved.
I think before this, there weren't very many drugs approved per year, like maybe 5 to 10 drugs approved per year before this. And now there's, at this time, I think it's 2018, maybe when this book was written, maybe even after that. They're saying it's closer now to about 45 to 60 drugs are being approved per year.
Really? It's amazing that we need that many drugs.
Yeah,
that goes back to the food part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that one too. So, I mean, this is a really good book. If you get a chance to read it and actually interested in it, I probably didn't do it any justice. He goes back and forth about the history of FDA, and the trial or the hearing that they're having. And
Was
even him now is more like he was all for it towards the end of the book, the FDA, all that. But towards the end of the book, he's like, even he's not trusting the FDA as much.
was that book sponsored by anybody, or was it just him writing it and then trying to get
Just
it published?
just him writing it. To me, the FDA should be completely unbiased. I mean, we're humans; we're going to be biased no matter what. But they should focus on the safety and efficacy of every drug, and they have to cut the people person out. I know that doesn't sound
No, they gotta be unemotional to the fact.
exactly. I mean, yeah,
People,
the drug could help some people, but is it going to help or to hurt more people than it's going to help? I mean,
they're in a
that's
tough situation, but because people are gonna die along down while they're trying to make these decisions,
right.
and it's
And
gotta be
it
a
sounds
long decision that
it
helps.
sounds callous, but it's a decision they
It
have
is
to
kind of
make, in
callous.
my opinion. And now that the pharmacy can pay to get drug in, it pretty much broke all that barrier.
Well,
And we'll get to the big drugs that here recently that's caused a lot of problems.
just look at all of them that are advertised now. That's another mistake that I don't know who decided if it's the FDA or who it was that decided that pharma could advertise their drugs. That's just
Congress,
yeah. Well, okay, government.
yeah,
They
Well, it was
it's,
probably Pharma
it's their
paying.
yeah,
what's that?
Yeah.
What
It
was
was
that?
Pharma paying Congress to pass
Oh
it.
yeah, exactly.
lobbyists, yeah.
You're lobbyists and they ruin everything. I mean, it's just the way it is. I don't have an answer. I can just bitch. That's what I can do.
Never heard you bitch once in your life, Bill.
Yeah, that's true. You guys all heard it. She's never heard me bitch. Wake
All
up,
right.
Brandy. It's class time.
I'm awake.
So, anyone else have anything else to say about this book? I know I'm the only one that's read it, did the homework, but you
You
ready to
knew
go
that,
on to the next?
He didn't give me any
you
homework.
knew that was going to be read and you didn't do your homework? No wonder you flunked class.
So I told you guys what to study up on.
I wanted to listen. I wanted to come in with no knowledge.
Boy, did she do that.
Okay, Tiff, do you have any more knowledge?
What?
Do you have any more knowledge than what you came in with?
Yeah, actually I do.
I can't see your face because my screen is like blocking your face. So, all
You
right,
asked.
we'll go to. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Go on.
We already go to the next book.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
Fixing Food, an FDA insider unravels the myth and the solutions. It's by Richard A. Williams, a Ph.D.
When was it written?
recently.
Okay. Because they got a lot of fixing to do.
I'm going to be completely honest. I've been having problems focusing and concentrating recently, so I didn't get all the way through the book. So I'm going to tell you what I know now. He is actually an economist. Economist. Thank you. You might be wondering what is an economist doing in the FDA? Well, they're actually there to decide whether it's worth money wise to pull stuff off the shelves.
Great.
Wait, what?
So
And it's
there again,
not
it goes
very
back
efficient.
to money.
Yes.
To
And,
pull
and
it off the shelf, so like if it's
Yes.
not healthy or good for us, they don't know if they should pull it off the shelves.
Is it going to cost more to pull it off the shelves than to keep it on?
we're talking about, your big corporations.
They're all about
Yeah.
the dollar.
And we'll talk a little bit about that. Basically, what I learned from this book, he talked about. So I think in every job there's these type of people. There's the really do goods and try hards, the people who are just there for the paycheck, and the people who don't care. And the people there are just there for the paycheck are the majority in the FDA. He just show up and stuff. He's talked about his office mate when he first got there and all that would fall asleep most of the day, be sleeping most of the day. A lot of hanky panky going around in other places.
Wait a minute.
Office.
Now you caught my interest.
What?
Now you caught my interest. So how many of these FDA members or workers or whatever are looking to get hired onto major corporations?
And that's the other part. Yep. Um, well, I guess it's pretty much anywhere in government. We watched a documentary on the Treasury Department too. All that is you got a lot of back and forth hiring. So people who work in these corporations who go work for the FDA, then people work for the FDA go to the corporations. And guess what? You got a lot of people who know where to work the system and stuff like that and get stuff proved whether it needs to be or not.
Well, all you got to do is look at your media now. How many of them used to work in the government some way or another? Why do we keep losing Caitlin?
I don't know.
I was moving, sorry.
She keeps turning her camera off, I think.
Oh, she don't want us to see her. I get it.
You don't want to see me.
So
Hear that?
Zane.
You can't hear that crunching going on?
Yeah, I can hear it.
He's eating his chips every time. It's like,
He is loud, like a T-Rex eating a dinosaur.
So the first thing we talk about is the FDA tightened the reins who can produce baby formula. So they only allowed certain companies to make baby formula. They get to make it safer, and of course, that led to monopoly.
is that why the price is jacked up on them?
Exactly. So only 5 companies produce it, so they can charge whatever they want.
And that's why we had a shortage during the COVID.
And then at 1970, only 25% of babies were actually on formula. By 1989, it increased up to 52%.
Holy shit. What is it now? Do you know?
I do not know now.
It's got to be higher.
Someone got their computer up, they might be able to look it up.
Someone's looking at me.
I got my computer right here. Tells me everything I need to know. Have another sip, you'll be fine.
So, at 3 months in 2018, 54% of babies received formula, either exclusively or as a supplement. And at 6 months in 2018, went to it's 26% of babies were exclusively breastfed. Sorry, I thought that was going to give me the
Well, only 26% were breastfed?
exclusively.
So that's about 76% of babies are on some sort of formula.
Well, that's why we have an autism problem.
Why?
Mother's milk is the best.
No, fed is best.
If
Fed?
that was the case, I would have autism because I was not breastfed.
That explains a lot about me.
Well, I was going to say, it explains a lot about all of you. So.
Yeah, that's true. We were all formula fed.
There was
Hey,
no choice,
Moxie
though.
wasn't formula fed.
Huh?
I said Moxie wasn't formula fed.
Maylee was by the 9 months. Or
We were talking about that you ate the boob juice.
They just slapped me on the goat.
Yeah, my boob juice. You ate my boob juice.
Dad?
No.
They just slapped me on the goat and I went to town.
Poor.
You hit her?
Yes.
That wasn't very nice.
Threw something at me. That's Hedwig. That's not Hagrid.
Sorry, son. Go ahead.
Go.
All right, so in the 1920s, Congress passed a law of food standardization because quicker meals were starting to become more popular, which led to standards for processed foods. So
1920s? It started that
1920s
early?
started that way. So food
Also
standardization,
back then.
45% of products on the shelves now have to abide by the Food Standardization Act. And what it basically said is all recipes have to be like mother used to make. So I don't know what mother and whatever that, but basically it had to be one recipe for everything.
Which
most
mother were they standardized by?
I don't know.
Your
If
mom.
it was my mother, no wonder we're all fat and sick.
Wait, you guys were all skinny growing up though.
Yeah, because we wouldn't eat her food.
So probably the most common one that is standardized right now is ketchup.
He's gonna bash ketchup. I tell you
Has
what.
everyone noticed that ketchup doesn't come in different flavors, really?
They tried for a little while, like back when I was a kid.
They did
Ketchup
actually.
is ketchup.
They tried
What?
green ketchup.
Yeah, it was like different purple, green. I think there
Oh,
was
I
one.
remember that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever
But
different flavors. It was just different colors.
They had a pickle flavor there for a while.
Yeah, there was different flavors, but I can't remember what they all were.
We're getting sidetracked again, though.
I'm going to let you on a secret. All ketchup's the same.
Well, yeah.
Whether it's Heinz, Hunt's, Red Gold,
That's why I buy the cheap
all
stuff
ketchup.
because it's all the
Yeah,
exact same
I always buy the
ingredients.
cheap. Because you're
Same ingredients. Yep.
buying the name at that point.
All ketchup's the same. But like food like salsa is not part of the food standardization. So that's why you get a lot of different flavors of salsa. So if you see everything that's the same is part of the standardized. If it's not, then it's not standardized. But that also leads to a lot of different problems too. The standardization of all foods, because it all becomes processed and stuff like that, and leads to ultra processing, which is a big problem in this country.
Unfortunately.
I wish I could have read more of it. He used to work for the FDA for a long time, and he pretty much slammed it for every parts that I've read. He slammed Congress and the executive branch that he was under because they just didn't really care.
I'm surprised that he didn't have to sign like an NDA or something.
I don't think he would have cared, to tell you the truth.
I think you probably had to have, because there isn't any government agency you don't have to sign one of those.
Yeah, but don't you get into a lot of trouble if you go against it?
You can, unless you
I'm
have all
actually
the evidence on your side.
I'm actually surprised they let him write the book, let it be published.
Sometimes some of those things are. It depends on the time. It's only like 2 years or 5 years or whatever. So then
Sure.
after that, you're outside of the boundaries to
That's true.
speak
Gotcha.
freely at that point.
And he doesn't hold back names too. He calls out everyone. His old supervisors, because he was mainly 80s and early 90s, I think, is when he worked for the FDA. So like the Reagan administration, the Bush administration, Clinton administration, he called out all of them. I'll get that book finished someday, but
Well, I just heard recently or something about, well, I just heard recently, but I think it's been known for a while, that like Canada doesn't approve of certain foods that America has. Like one of them is Fruit Loops. They can have
Mhm.
Fruit Loops in Canada, but they can't have the red, what is it?
The red dye.
Red
Red
dye,
dye, number
dye,
6. Yep.
number
Red dye
6.
A
number
lot
6.
of your other countries won't allow our food.
And they use beet dye or beets
Beets.
for their Fruit Loops coloring and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I don't know how it tastes, but I don't understand how Canada can have a stricter, or even some of these other countries can have stricter guidelines on their food, and we can't. Are they? I mean, Is the government trying to make us fat?
Yeah,
Trying to.
literally, it's all about money.
So it's
Yes,
all corporate greed. You're saying?
yes. A lot of it's lobbyists. And
Government greed.
what's that?
Is it corporate greed or government greed?
Both.
Because then you have your corporations lobbying and paying off your government officials. So if they stuff you full of your processed food, then they can sell you big pharma solutions. So it's just all one big shitstorm circle.
If Congress passes a law, there's already lobbyists that's already written that law for them. So their law actually means nothing because it's still going to help them and the lobbyists. It's not going to help the American people.
So
I feel like it's. Go ahead, Dad.
Schoolhouse Rock doesn't work anymore, then, huh?
What's that?
Schoolhouse Rock doesn't work anymore. How Bill's supposed to work.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm old. I don't know if any of you even remember that. Or
I
not.
love
I do.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
Isn't it
bills
also
don't get written like
cheaper
that.
for these companies to make all this processed food the way they do now and sell it for a bigger price than it is for them to just make it like other countries without all the processing and more natural?
We're all looking to you, Casper, because I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I've listened to podcasts on this and stuff with Gabe.
Some.
And
There's a couple of things to remember here is Europeans I use as an example. Most of their food is fresh that they eat. I mean, they'll go to the market every day and get fresh food, more natural foods and stuff like that. Like if you see the labels compare their food compared to ours, they have a lot less chemicals and stuff in it. It's more natural. But their countries are also a lot smaller. So for like a company here to shift it from Florida to Washington, let's say, you're going to need your food to last probably longer than a couple of days. And some of those chemicals in there are preservatives last that long. There is the other problem is a lot of the processed food isn't made here in the U.S. It's made overseas, so they got to ship all that food over here. Well, that's you need it to last longer and stuff like that. That's why the processed food, is probably more expensive than it should be because we got to buy it from overseas companies. And
why do we have to buy it overseas?
Because it's cheaper for companies to make it over there.
So, yeah, now you're going down a different rabbit hole, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of things like tax purposes and stuff like that. There's whose hands they can grease the best. But we're also going to get onto that podcast that I don't know if Sydney sent it or recommended it or something like that. I'm going to talk about who owns some of these companies that do the processing.
That'll shock you.
Mm-hmm. Did anyone listen to that podcast?
Which
No.
podcast?
It's with Calley and Casey Means. Is on the Tucker Carlson show.
Tucker was doing the interview with them?
Yes. There's just some stuff they brought up. Do you know Big Pharma funds medical schools up to 50%?
Doesn't surprise me at all. I didn't know it, but it doesn't surprise me.
And I did look, like a lot of their stuff I had to double check, just because, well, I double check everyone. And that is true. They do make 50% of the medical, a lot of big ones like Stanford and Harvard and Yale, all that. So most of your doctors are already corrupt before they even get out of school.
That don't surprise me.
Do you know cigarette companies owns companies like Kraft and Heinz?
What?
Say that again?
Cigarette companies own the Kraft and Heinz.
I did
Companies
not know
like that make the ultra processing food. So the companies that paid off Congress to lie for you for years and the FDA about how bad cigarettes are owns the ultra processed foods.
Really?
Didn't they used to advertise that cigarettes were actually good for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it was believed cigarettes were good for you.
They actually had actual doctors do
Mhm.
commercials that say cigarette smoking was okay for you. When you used to go into a doctor's office, a doctor would be sitting there smoking to you while he was examining you.
You could use to smoke on planes up to
Yeah.
what, like the 70s or 80s?
yeah.
You used to
Yeah,
be
it
able to
wasn't-
smoke
it
in
wasn't that long
hospitals.
ago.
Yeah,
What?
I was gonna say hospitals used to smoke in there.
Mhm. It
Did you
really
get like a
wasn't until
cold
recent.
chill?
I did.
You just like spazzed for a second.
So just think about that though. Cigarette companies own the companies that make these ultra processed foods.
Well,
Their
you
whole
see,
playbook was pay people off to say cigarettes are healthy. Do you think their playbook's changed any now?
no. I mean,
No.
you're talking craft. Think about all the stuff for kids that they
Yes.
make.
And I was actually going to bring this up. So, well, ketchup's a good example. Your Kraft macaroni and cheese
My
that your kids eat, that obviously it's not healthy for them,
No.
but it actually alters their brain a little bit. And so your kids aren't really picky, just that processed food releases extra dopamine. So they think, well, this is really good. I want to eat that. Why the other food doesn't release that dopamine. So that's why your kids might not be picky. They just want that processed foods because, hey, their brain is telling them it tastes so well. They're not developed enough to say, hey, no, it's not.
I found out that there's
Well, so
something that they add to
That's
gum that actually makes you crave sugar. Even if it's sugar-free
Yes.
gum, it purposely makes you crave more sugar and stuff throughout the day.
And sugar companies actually bribe the USDA. So the food pyramid, everyone remember the food
well,
pyramid?
that was a hell of a scam.
Mm-hmm.
That was the sugar companies buying off the USDA, trying to say their food, which is on the bottom part, even though the sugar eat sparingly is on top, but the flour, the processed sugar, everything was on that bottom one that you're supposed to eat more of. And really, it should have been closer to the top. Your fruits and vegetables and proteins, that should be
Mm-hmm.
your food there. Very little grains, unless it's whole grains. That's fine to eat. But it's with the all-purpose flour, the processed stuff. That stuff you shouldn't be eating.
I say we went to buy some bread that Gabe thought was fresh baked. And he was looking at the ingredients on it or whatever, and it had sugar in it. He couldn't believe it. And I go, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go pick up a loaf of bread. I guarantee you there's sugar in almost all of them.
Well,
So
I'm not
you
saying
guys,
completely
But
go
no,
ahead.
I'm
cut
just
sugar
saying it's
out.
amazing what you find sugar in that you wouldn't think
Yeah.
it would be in. Like bread, a loaf of bread.
Well, you shouldn't be eating white bread.
I
Any
don't.
part of it. You should only be eating whole wheat bread. But a little bit
Hey,
of sugar or a little bit of processed foods here and there is fine. Just don't make it part of your main meal.
But that's
hey,
what's so hard. Everything is
my son's
processed now.
already had his heart problem. I haven't had mine yet, so I'm going to keep eating white bread.
I mean, it's fine to
Everything
eat
is processed.
it's fine to eat a Big Mac every once in a while or a candy bar every once in a while. But you need to start making homemade meals. If you can,
Point.
I
go to
know.
a farmer's market, buy the fresh fruits and vegetables. Make your own, have your own garden if you can.
So what's the tier on the FDA and the USDA? How do they work together?
They don't. They're not supposed to.
They're supposed to be
Really?
separate. Can one
Yes.
override the other?
I don't believe so. Um, USDA is supposedly just mainly how the food is um, raised, I guess, in charge of that. The FDA is supposed to be in charge of how it's sold and stuff like that.
So the USDA just regulates farmers, basically.
Basically, yeah.
That's a good question.
Another one. I know a lot of you probably don't know who John Rockefeller is. Dad, you probably do.
I do.
Yeah, no,
The
no
name
idea,
sounds
babe.
familiar,
He made his big money in oil.
but it's probably because of the
His
Rockefeller Center.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Ooh,
his family's actually pretty evil right now, but actually
wow.
always been evil.
I was gonna say
Um,
power hungry.
your seed oils, this canola oil and that. You know how that stuff was made
Tell me.
That one.
from excess motor oil. You're basically eating motor oil when you eat that stuff.
Wait,
Seed oil is made from excess motor oil.
Yes.
like you're talking like olive oil and stuff?
Like the oil they couldn't use for cars, the motor oil and stuff like that, that just wasn't there. They figured out a way to process it to make it so you could eat it.
Yeah, but what kind of oils are we talking? Like
Your canola oil,
vegetable oil? You're saying
soybean oil, vegetable oil. Yes.
So you're talking like the oil that we use at like a restaurant to fry our food.
like
Yes.
Okay, fryer oil, not
Yes.
like the oil that we use at home, like olive oil
No.
type stuff. Okay, so you're talking
Olive
about
oil.
fast food.
Olive
'Cause,
oil
yeah,
is different.
yeah.
That stuff's good.
Well, you can get canola oil like in little bottles like that at home, but you're talking about
No, that's the
like the
same.
fast food. Okay.
No,
he's
canola
saying
oil
that.
you get at home is the same thing.
Because I knew they were like running cars off of like the canola oil and stuff like that from restaurants. Like people have like engineered like engines
Yeah.
to run off of it and stuff.
But yeah, so any canola oil that you can get in any store, basically.
Yes. Or soybean oil or any seed oil.
Well, I don't know. You can run cars off of alcohol too. So I'll drink to
Yeah.
that.
Well, in
Um,
Back to the Future, you can run it off your trash. So
so
let me throw my banana peel in here.
Listen, Back to the Future was way ahead of its time.
So while we're still on food, let's talk about this. 44% adult and 50% of children in the U.S. today are obese.
Define obese.
You want to look up what obese means?
I just heard Zane say, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah. He's playing this game. He gets all worked up about it.
But it was like at a good time because Casper was talking about how many are over obese, and he goes, "Oh my goodness."
Because, I mean,
I'm considered obese.
yeah, I was gonna say, I am also considered obese because of my
Yeah,
body mass.
Well,
yeah.
well, don't go about the BMI. The BMI is junk. Even doctors will agree with
I say
that.
my
Yeah,
doctor
but
doesn't go off my BMI. He just goes
Yes,
off my
but
weight,
a
height,
lot
and
of
age.
but a lot of the statistics that the government throws out there, they're saying one in every uh four, I think
It's
it is.
4, yeah.
One in every four people are obese, and by the time of 2030, one out of every two is going to be obese. So I think they're kind of. I mean, I've seen a lot of. Technically I'm obese,
Well, so am I.
but to me, when I was growing up, obese meant that you were not. You were so overweight you were not functional. See what I'm saying? And they've
Yeah.
changed the term of obese to mean I, I I don't know exactly what it means, but anybody overweight of a certain, I'm 5'10", I'm supposed to weigh
That's your BMI.
I'm supposed to weigh 180 pounds or something like that, I don't want to say this, but I'm 70 pounds overweight, so technically I'm obese, but I'm functional. I may bitch and whine and complain I hurt and stuff, but I'm still functional.
So what is obese?
it's all about the BMI. I can't find
Okay.
any definition outside of it's about your BMI.
Well, the BMI is crap. Everyone knows that.
It is crap. I mean, Derek and I have went down a rabbit hole about this, and we totally agree it's crap.
But I totally agree that people are overweight. America is fat. I'll agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, we are fat, but the way they define obese anymore, I don't agree with it exactly. I mean, we need to be healthier. I'll never get there. I'll die before I ever get healthy. But you know, America is fat. They're overweight. They need to get better. They need to get in shape. There's no doubt about it. If we want to stay strong as a country, we need to be strong individuals. But how you define obese just, I don't know,
Yeah.
personally just rubs me wrong.
Well, and again, it's all the same cycle because it's like, how can you get healthier when your food isn't healthy and you can't
Exactly.
get your food to be
Exactly.
healthier?
Yes.
And
So
you have
it's like,
doctors shoving pills at you.
Well, and now they have that shot that is like
Mhm.
huge now. It's blowing up, and
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Okay. I was gonna say, you know who controls that. But I mean,
Big pharma.
yes. But your healthy food is marked up, so it
That's a
sucks
big
trying to
problem.
eat healthy.
Your healthy food is so expensive, most people can't afford it.
Yes.
Mhm.
You
Trust
gotta
me, we're having that problem.
I was gonna say, I have a husband with a heart condition, and it's really freaking expensive to find food that he can eat that is within his diet.
Oh,
You
I
have
have a
husband
husband
with
that's
heart?
just picky.
You have a husband with a heart condition?
I do,
What
so
a
he needs to
coincidence!
meet.
I have a son that's had a heart condition too.
No way!
That's crazy. I have a brother with a heart condition.
That's crazy. I have a heart condition.
What?
All right, I'll throw some more statistics right here. 77% of people are unfit to serve in the military.
77?
77.
I'm probably one.
Is that even with the lower standards to get into the military?
Even with the lower standards.
Oh, jeez, that's pathetic.
Is that overweight and mental health?
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
No.
please with the mental health crap.
That's what they consider it.
No, 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 no. Let's stop with that. People are just weak.
Okay.
You say as you have 3 people in here with
Yeah.
mental health struggles.
All right. 50% of
Talking
adults
about
have
me?
Well,
type 2 diabetes.
you could be included.
Okay, 4.
50% of adults have type 2 diabetes.
50?
50%.
And that has to do with the
Jesus.
food they're intaking.
Exactly. The processed foods, the high sugar diets.
Mhm.
What's the differences? Type 1 and type 2.
Type 1's
Type
you're
1, you're
born with.
born with it.
What?
Type
Go
1
ahead,
is
Casper.
you're born with it. You need insulin. Your body can't process the insulin.
Okay.
Type 2 is you ate there basically and you have too much sugar, so you need more insulin to help break it down.
Gotcha.
But if you go on a healthier diet and stuff, you could eventually get off of that.
Or at least control it better.
Yeah.
Type 2?
In 1950, 1% of teens had diabetes. Today it's 30%.
Nice.
Teens?
Teens.
Have what type?
Type 2.
That's pathetic.
30%.
30% still. You go.
And how many of them are technically overweight? Probably most of them.
Probably most of their diet is fast food or processed food diets. 70. I don't know if that one's true.
Because it's easy. It's
According to a
fast.
study, 40% of teens have mental health issues.
What do you say?
40% have mental health issues, teens.
I'm not gonna.
Mainly because of metabolic disorders. Means the processed foods they eat messed up their brain.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised that it's not higher than that, just because of how easy it is to be diagnosed with something
Nowadays.
Like, I'm not saying that mental health is disregarded because.
Hi, Gabe.
They've always been on it, but my
Hey,
dad's
Gabe.
guest. Sorry.
I'd like to go
The
back to
FDA.
economics too, though.
And food.
What do you say?
He said, "Fuck those guys." Well, right now, he wants to know how many people have cancer now because of poisoned food.
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
Well, if you want the truth, I don't know how many because of poison food and stuff, but when I was in college, there were studies that said people get cancer every day. But your body has these natural killer cells that actually take care of the cancer.
Well, because everybody has cancer in them.
Right.
So
It just depends on if it multiplies and becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So are you saying like the processed foods that we're eating are killing those good whatever that kills that cancer?
It's not that they're doing that, it's just they're slowing down your metabolism and your metabolic process so that stuff doesn't work as efficient as it's supposed to.
So
Go ahead.
no, it's fine. Well, I mean, went down the cancer way. I'm going to jump back a little bit, but so the processed food and the economics and the fast food and all that, it goes back to economics basically. There was a time, this is kind of going off the beaten path a little bit, but there was a time that a family of say 5 or 6 people could live off of one income.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or I'm going to go because that's the basic way it was. A man could go out and work, and a woman could uh, stay-at-home mom. I mean, I'm not trying to get too political here, but it's could raise the family, take care of the house, you know, do all that stuff off of one income. The whole family could live off of one income. And now you can't do that. So that's where you process food, which is cheaper and
Cheaper, easier. Yeah.
easier. Your
Quicker.
fast food comes in and plays a part because you have to have 2 people in the working for work to make an income to support the family of just 2 or 3 people now, where they used to be able to support, you know, 5 or 6 kids. You know, now you can only support 2 or maybe 3. So it all comes back to the economics and back to overreach, and you know, it all comes back to
Yeah.
money. It always does.
Yeah.
It always
Yeah.
comes back to that.
I was reading something the other day that says in our economy now, you have to make like 1,100 more or $1,100 more now to keep with the type of living that you have, just because of cost of everything. And next year it's going to increase too.
$1,100 more from when? A year ago?
From a year ago.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all. I mean, cost of living is always going up.
Well, and I mean, not to derail us too much farther, but I can't tell you how many people I know or I've heard of that say they make more money now than they've ever made and they're more broke than they've ever been.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
yeah, that's the way it was. I mean, when I was not a kid, but when I was first starting out in the workforce, say, you know, I was making, you know, $6 an hour, $5 an hour, right around there. You know, it wasn't a wealthy living, but it was a living, you know. And it's just now I'm making quite a bit more than that. And yeah, I'm living a little nicer now, but still.
Well, I mean, you also don't have. I mean,
I don't have you guys to
well, that's what
support.
I'm saying. You back then you were starting out. Now you don't. Well, you got me and my kids, my husband, because we basically live here. But
Yeah, she landed a gold mine, guys.
That's why she wanted you guys to move out there so
You guys
bad.
moved up close to her. You got no one to blame but yourself.
You could have came to UTN and we would have never came and visited you.
that's
you could have come to Metro.
Mm.
I know for a fact that if they would have moved by either one of you,
No, Caitlin Casper would have never come and seen us.
We don't leave our house.
I would have been the only one from my house over.
True.
Mommy.
No, Moxie would have came with you.
And then she would have left because she was bored.
All right. Let's get back to the episode here.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So the autism barriers have never changed, really,
The what
since
barrier?
since 2000. What's these? How you determine autism?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Since 2000, it's never changed. And in
2000?
2000, yep. So in 2000, 1 in 1,500 people were diagnosed with autism. Today, it's 1 in 36.
Holy shit. You gotta hold
That's
that thought, because Dad's gonna want to hear that. Yeah, I know, Zane.
While we're waiting, I'm gonna go check on my son.
Okay. Here, Tiff. What did you learn?
Okay. Well, I don't know exactly what you said, but to see if somebody is autistic or whatever, it hasn't really changed since 2000. It's always been the same, more or
the
less.
same like criteria.
Yeah, criteria. Thank you. I was trying to think of what.
I knew what you were trying to.
Back in 2000, 1 in every 1,500
Yep.
kid was diagnosed with autism. Now it's 1 in every 36.
Holy shit.
In like 20.
So
Well, I don't know when that stat
I'm
was
sorry,
from, but like 20 to 24
That's
years.
the same thing, and he yelled at me.
So are these actual kids with autism? Or are they just being diagnosed with autism? You know, I didn't say that
Well,
right.
I think I know what you're saying. I think it's kind of like a combination of both. Because when I was younger, I would have been diagnosed with autism.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I would have been diagnosed with autism at today's standards.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
that's what I'm saying is everybody, well, they say now the spectrum, okay, you have the spectrum now is what they call it. And they say technically everyone is somewhere on the spectrum. It's just where you fall in that, if you really need the help or not. Like, OCD is considered on the spectrum. So this is why I don't understand how it could be the same criteria since 2000.
and I guess I got two questions here on that, since we're on that subject. Is my first question is how many of them autistic are boys compared to girls? How many girls are autistic compared to boys? And um, is every autistic person put on drugs to help cure the autism? You know what I'm saying? Or at least regulate their autism. I guess you can't cure it, I guess. But
They never really said that on the podcast. They're more worried or saying it's more about the way your body's being metabolized, the food and stuff like that. Like your food is making you more autistic, basically.
So
The
is
way
that
we
the
eat.
mother digesting the food then? Because isn't autism from
Well,
birth?
not only that, but I mean, when your kids start eating, what do they normally eat?
When they start eating?
quick food.
Yeah, actual food.
Quick food.
Quick food.
Well, it did,
The processed food. The ultra processed food.
wasn't. I fed my kids what we ate, which was like my home cooked meals. When they started eating.
Well, that's the way it should be.
I don't know.
But you're one person. Look at everyone else's.
Okay. I guess like you got like yeah. Okay.
Well, and by the time they get to school age, if they're eating lunches at school and stuff,
Yeah.
like there's really, I mean, as a parent, unless you send a lunch with them, you can't really control the fact that they're going to get processed food at school, most likely.
Right.
I guess the reason I ask about the comparison between boys and girls, the gender part of it, is because I heard on a podcast that, and I can't remember which podcast it was, that the boys or the male between the ages of 3 and 8 will pump as much testosterone in their system as they do when they reach puberty and higher. They'll pump as much, so it makes them hyper, makes them overactive, it makes them want to run around and be rambunctious.
Isn't that why, like,
And
boys, the high or ADHD, a
right,
higher percentage
right.
are
I mean, I
boys?
know that's part of why they say that is because of the testosterone that they're pumping through their system because they're growing. And it makes them more active and more rebellion or whatever you want to call it. But I just
I,
wondered if some of that is being diagnosed as, autism or something, instead
well,
of,
I'm sure.
instead of just, and I know I'm old fashioned, instead of, you know, being disciplined, yes, the kid has to have something to do to get this out of their system. But
Well,
nowadays they're on tablets, video
yeah.
games,
See,
instead of outside running it off.
Mm-hmm.
see, look at our school system and how everything they sit in this box for 8 hours a day. They don't go outside all that much. They don't get the exercise they truly need and all that. They burn off all that.
Right.
Well, that's so. I had lunch with one of my older coworkers like a couple weeks ago, and we had this exact conversation because her daughter is 9, I think. I feel bad that I forgot, but I mean, she goes to school all day. They barely have any recess or anything like that, and then she's supposed to come home and sit down, and they have homework already. And so she has to sit down and do her homework, and it's like she never ran off the energy. She never worked it off during the day. And if it was anything like when I was in elementary school, lunch was 30 minutes, and that included recess.
Yep.
So it's like you had to eat really, really fast if you wanted to go to recess, and that was it. So you got maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of recess a day while you're sitting in class for, I don't know, 6, 7 hours, however long the school day is. Like,
Well, they
I mean,
do they even do PE anymore in schools?
Not the
Um,
way it used to
Yes.
be.
I
Not
mean,
the way they used to, but yes.
and what did they do in PE? I mean, because I've heard people say that they have classes in PE where they just like health class.
Well, where my kids, like Jalen just started health class now in junior high. But before that, it was always just they would play games or go outside and run. And that's what Moxie does all day is run when they're
Well,
in
that's
PE.
what's
But
what
they have
PE
an
is supposed to be.
hour. They get a half hour to eat lunch and then they get another half hour to go recess. Like it's like a mandatory 30 minutes now for recess. They have to have 30 minutes recess.
But we used
Outside
to have.
time
But
or
you got a
whatever.
smaller school too.
Well, it's like a state thing. You have to have 30 minutes.
Well, I
But
just
when we
go
were
ahead, Bill.
growing up, I think we had recess what 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
a
it was
day.
twice. It was
Twice.
twice when I was in elementary school.
Really, because we
Mm-hmm.
had when I was growing up, we had recess in the morning.
Yeah,
Can't tell you what time, but we had recess in the morning. Then we had lunch, which was 30 minutes, and you ate fast because then you got to go to the outside or the gym. You ate fast, you did that, and then you had recess in the after, or what we called PE recess or whatever. But
yep.
we always did a physical activity in PE.
Hmm.
I mean, it was, of course, I know dodgeball is a touchy subject nowadays, but we had dodgeball. We had, we did something physical that was organized. It was an organized sport or whatever, you know.
Even running or flag football or something active you would
Even
do.
hopscotch or something, something like that is at least active.
I don't think they really do that anymore.
I don't, I don't
Which,
know.
and that's not to say that, like, I don't want to say that we're just magically diagnosing them more just because of
Oh,
whatever, But all I'm saying is like there are so many more factors now, I think, with like your processed food, your lack of, you know, recess, I guess, and different things like that that are making it so kids can't really.
But there's one thing that's all this has one thing in common. All of it has one thing in common. Your schools, your food, all this has one thing in common. Government overreach. The government has too much involved in your personal lives. They're just too involved, as far as I'm concerned. I,
I
I,
feel like you can.
I think the
I
less
feel like you can
government you
bring
have,
that.
the better.
I feel like you can even bring that closer just into money.
Well, which money controls government, government controls money.
Now, I was going to say
You're
you could
right.
say
Huh?
that differently. Is saying greedy government controls too much.
Right.
Mm.
Well,
Because
I don't, I don't have a problem with government the way our founding fathers wanted it, but the way it's turned out to be, there's too much government, way
yes,
too much government, and like you said, greedy government, and you know, I if our founding fathers could see the way the government's run today, they would just be turning over in their graves. I think that's just me.
We'll let you get back on the subject, Cass.
oh, you're fine. See here. I'll just touch on a couple more subjects from there. Um, most of the pesticides that are used on crops now, most of those are made overseas, and those countries don't use that pesticides.
Yep. I actually did know that one.
That
I
doesn't
heard that one.
surprise me because who's trying to destroy the U.S.?
Yeah.
So it's made in China and Germany are main pesticides areas. See here. What else?
Get rid of
I
your
guess we should.
TikTok, buddy.
What's that?
Get rid of your TikTok.
Yeah, I don't have it. Let's talk about those shots you were talking about earlier, Tiff.
The shots.
Oh,
Oh, you all right,
are
Zaner?
you okay? Okay. Yeah, let's
Oh,
hear
what
it.
did I put up there?
The Ozempic and Wagobi. Is that the other
Yes.
one?
Yes.
And there's Mounjaros too, I think.
Not sure. Um, I would recommend not taking those drugs if I was you. I don't know if people know how those drugs actually work. They do. You will lose some fat, but you also lose muscle.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah,
Cause
you
sorry, I'm gonna go off. Um, when there is somebody that I know is very serious and they talk to their doctor and their doctor's like, if you decide to do this, you have to work out.
you
Like,
do.
you can't just take it and not do anything. Like, and just think it's gonna, cause, yeah, like you have to work out. And
Um,
not just like work out, like go on a walk every day, like actually work out.
it can also lead to thyroid problems, pancreatitis, and kidney issues.
Mm-mm.
I know a lot of people have had stomach problems with it too.
Well, that's where it goes, isn't it? In your stomach? Or like, I
Uh,
guess when
uh,
I say stomach, it goes in your belly, but
So I'm not exactly sure how it works. I never looked into it. My golden rule is if I see the drug advertised on TV, I'm not taking it.
see.
You're gonna go take a potty. You want us to hold up, or so if because there's a reason that drug's on TV. It's because they put a whole lot of money into that drug, and so they're trying to sell you that drug, or not necessarily you, but your doctors that drug,
Right.
because you're
So,
not going to
your
prescribe that.
doctor.
Yep, yep. Um, so let's talk about the way our drugs are priced. So let's take Ozempic for example. It's made by Novartis in Sweden, and they sell it to Medicaid is where they start first. They charge Medicaid $1,500 a month for it.
What?
So, and then all your insurance companies then are going to be based on that price. Okay, so that's why our drugs are so much expensive, because that drug in Europe is maybe $15 a person a month. They know they could sell it to us for a lot more.
That's crazy.
I would say the one that they were talking about putting me on was going to cost me about $2,000 a month.
That all our drug prices are based on what Medicaid will pay for it, or Medicaid will pay for it. You guys all right?
Dumb. Is Caitlin okay?
Yeah, she just wants to take Snoopy out.
Casper, can you see
Yeah.
both of us? Because you
Yeah.
haven't. Yeah.
Well, I can see Dad. I really can't see you, but
I see
because my
Dad. I
face,
don't even see Dad. I see you, Tiff.
say Dad just keeps.
Yeah, I know. And then he keeps moving. We have it on a TV tray, and he keeps moving that. That's where
So
I went right there.
since Obamacare, drug prices have gone up 15%.
Oh, imagine that. He was supposed to save us, though. Sorry. Don't mean to be that way. Not an Obama fan.
All right,
Beer's gone.
so this has been long, and I still got the documentary to talk about. So I'll try to make this as fast as possible.
Or do we need to do 2 parts?
I was gonna say we can save that for another part. Dad doesn't have
It's
to be
up.
a special guest again.
It's up to you guys.
Well, I got a child I got to get to bed.
Yeah, I got 2 children.
Caitlin's got one.
You're looking at him.
And this child's got to go to bed.
All right, so I guess we're going to do a second part of this.
Tickle his armpit, Tiff.
If you want to start to do the head homework for it, the Crime of the Century on Max documentary. It's about the opiate addiction crisis going on right now.
I've already watched it.
Good, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
On Max?
On Max.
I think you have Max.
HBO.
Yeah.
I also have this book that's
What?
about it.
I can't see it, Bran.
It's called
Dope
Dope
Stick.
Sick.
Oh.
Well, that
Dope
was
Sick.
on Hulu. Had Dope Stick for a while.
Not stick. Sick.
Dope stick.
Oh. Anyway, Hulu had it.
Pound cake.
Hulu
Dude.
had it for a while.
Hey guys, Hulu had it for a while.
They had dope stick.
They had Dope Stick.
That like dipstick.
No, that's Dad.
But I will say I watched The Crime of the Century with Casper, and it is a really good documentary. Very
It was called Crime of the Century. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Gabe's watched it a couple times now.
It's a 2-part documentary.
About the opioid, where it's coming from and everything else, or
How it started.
How it started.
It didn't start overseas. It started here.
I know. One of
What's
our
your
old
pain
pharmaceutical
level?
pushed it. Huh?
Oh, whenever I see the smiley face charts with your pain level. There was another documentary that had that on it that had to do with the opioid thing.
Good.
And that's how doctors decided how they were going to give you drugs, was your pain level, according to a smiley face chart.
This is my face now.
I was always asked, is it a scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10.
Well,
yeah.
they changed it to a scale of 1 to 10. It used to be...
Well, some places still have the smiley faces, but doctors don't like.
Hey, Brandy, I'm really old, and I've never had a smiley face thing. It was always 1 to 10.
You've never worn a smiley face.
Because
Then
I'm
you're
such a
going to the
happy
wrong
guy, It
doctors.
was always smiley.
He goes to doctors all the time.
I do?
I said the wrong
Oh, the wrong.
Wrong doctors.
Well, it's because he went to old school doctors.
Yeah, the ones that were smoking when they were talking to me.
Yeah.
The ones that were on cocaine.
There is no wrong cocaine.
I feel like that's not true. Actually, there is wrong cocaine, and that's the one laced with fentanyl, because that's a thing.
I'm trying to remember the other one that I watched that had that. Because it had to
We're
do
talking
with
about
the
cocaine, and Brandy's talking about documentary.
Yeah, I know.
In case you were wondering what it's like being in this
drug
family,
reps and stuff
everybody
pushing
is
these
on
pills.
one subject, and Brandy's on a completely other one, all on her own.
Literally all the time.
Because it had the drug reps,
Oh,
the
world.
pretty girls that would go in and
It's continuing.
push the drugs, the pain meds. I know, you guys are
Thanks
making
for
fun
having
of
me
me.
on, guys.
I don't even see you.
Thanks for
Hi.
having me on, guys.
Thanks for being on. It was a pleasure.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to figure out
Hopefully you join us for part 2.
the view.
I know one thing. If I'm ever on this again, it's whiskey. It's not beer.
Can you do the heart thing?
Oh.
Will it
well,
work
Yeah,
tonight?
What
yours
is-
isn't
I
going
don't think it's
tonight.
gonna work tonight. Nope, I'm not. Oh, there they are.
There.
You bitch.
What is that?
You gotta watch the last episode.
I told you. I just told Granny that I forgot to tell her that there was another episode. And we
Tiff's
had-
just jealous that I can make them.
I forgot about it too. I haven't watched it yet.
How are you gonna handle watching yourself on it, Bill?
I asked him the same thing.
Granny's gonna be like, "It's you, Bill."
I probably won't let her watch it.
Ooh.
Hi, Granny.
Hi, Granny.
Granny.
Well, sure. Now I gotta let her watch it. So,
Too much adult content for her.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she would never expect that out of us.
Should we wrap up part 1? And
Yep. We'll see everyone
Alright.
in part 2.
Who's gonna be your special guest on part 2?
you're not coming back?
Well, Tiff said I'm not allowed to come back.
That was just a joke. He's too
Gotta at least gotta at
I
least
feel
finish.
like if we get a really good debate going, we can get my husband on here.
Well,
Oh, that's. Sorry, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say you need to have your husband when you start talking about conspiracy theories. That's what you need to have on there.
Casper.
Well,
Oh, he would have been all over this topic.
You and me are
Casper, I
debating
wanna
the
have you for next
moon
time.
landing.
Oh yeah, he told me I have to watch a couple of podcasts because he's all over that. He's like,
You have to watch
"I
the
got this."
podcast?
He goes, "I'll tell you what to watch so you can do it for me."
Although you're totally wrong about the moon landing. We landed on the moon. Get over it.
That's what I wanted your next one to be. Your next special.
Well, that's going to be our part of our South Carolina episode. My thought was,
Oh, right.
Oh, it is?
yeah, you're going to get everything that says that why we didn't land on the moon, and I was going to prove that you're an idiot.
Yikes. He just slammed that in there.
We can take talking robots, but we can't go back up into space or save the ones that are out
we
there.
can. Oh yes, we can. We can go back up there.
We can go out there. We can't go
But
back
we
out
have
there because
astronauts
Boeing.
stuck in space right now.
That's because of Boeing's a piece of crap.
That's because exactly. We just had a rocket land itself back on Earth, thanks to Elon Musk. So don't give me that crap. Boeing.
The fact that Boeing can't make an airplane well safety, and we let them to actually take people up to space is beyond me.
Just because Joe Rogan doesn't think we landed on the moon doesn't mean we didn't.
It's not him. He actually wasn't the one that Gabe told me to watch.
Save it for next time.
I'll
Okay.
save you for
On
next
that note-
time.
Bye guys. Sorry I fell asleep in class.
Do you want me to sign off with our socials? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, that's all right. So if you want more of this, because of course you do, and you have to have part 2, you can follow us on social media. You can go to Facebook and type in "because I fell asleep in class." Give us a like and a follow. You can also find us on Instagram at @FellAsleepPod. You can find us on YouTube. Search for the channel "Because I Fell Asleep in Class." And then, if you would like to send us an email to give Casper more subject ideas or just say hi, you can email us at becauseifellasleepinClass@gmail.com.
Hi.
And I finally got our Instagram handle right on the first try.
Good job.
Woo! I fucked up the intro, but I got the outro.
Hope you didn't fall asleep.
We did. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ta.